Okay, so in your respective industries, how does imposter syndrome manifest and what unique challenges does it present?
I know some of the faces in here because I didn't graduate not too long ago. And so for me, being in the industry, sometimes imposter syndrome does creep up because I am in my early 20s. I know David as well. And a lot of times when you're younger, sometimes people feel like you're not able to, do the things that they're looking for you to do. I am on a lot of different Zoom calls. I meet a lot of different community members, and a lot of people, if they were to know my actual age, then they would be like, oh my goodness. But I say that to encourage y'all, regardless of how old you are or whatever you do, my resume, what I did in college is what got me in this position.
I've been fortunate to be able to lean on mentors as well as lived experience. And I think that's something that you really have to understand what that looks like for you. For me, it was my community work prior to going into business, as well as my campus leadership. And so understanding that although it might not be that professional scene and background, it still has value in practical use. So
it wasn't that long ago to where I was the only black or minority person there, but there weren't people that I would call mentors. There weren't people who had kind of done what I had done and moved up. It was just mostly people that were sort of like my peers. Also in that time frame, there was more pressure external than internal, which is kind of what, the imposter syndrome, where you have that feeling of self-doubt about yourself. When I was coming into the industry as a young person, it was more externally, people were questioning your work. So you kind of had to demonstrate that, that you were capable, that you were worthy of the positions that you had.
Hi everyone, I'm Guardia. My imposter syndrome creeps up the most when I forget who I am and why I decided to run. Never thought in a million years that I could win a race because of my name, because I was a public defender. I had no money because I was a public defender. I don't have parents who are affluent or powerful or politically connected. I thought I could only ever be a public defender. I could only ever, be for the underdog. The people are the underdog in this system. And I thought if I could just get there, I could make some changes.
I have imposter syndrome probably at least once a week. I'm in the College of Education, even though it is 2023. I'm still the only minority candidate person in several of the meetings that I'm in. But the thing that helps me the most is I did not necessarily have a lot of mentors, so I'm being a mentor now, and that's what helps me.
All of you just spoke about the importance of, I heard each of you kind of speak about the importance of mentorship, support, and community. So I'd just like to ask each of you how you think organizations and educational institutions, such as the University of Louisville, can create a supportive environment for individuals like all of us in this room dealing with imposter syndrome.
If you see something about a panel, a networking, go. Even if it means that you gotta go by yourself, if your friends don't wanna go, whatever the case is, you make sure that you put yourself in the space so that you can meet other people. Sometimes you can go into the mirror and things will come over your mind and you just won't feel the best about yourself, but you gotta know who you are, and it's nice to have people around you, be a part of organizations where you can kind of see a mirror of other people and remind yourself, okay, yes, I got this, I can do this.
Don't feel like you can't go out and participate in some of the areas where, you don't have a large number of people that look like you or come from your background, so challenge yourself to go into those roles.
Yeah, challenge yourself, but also give yourself grace, because sometimes I think you feel like all you're doing is being challenged, and that's so exhausting. It's okay to be wrong, and I think you get so much credibility when in those moments you're willing to concede, yeah, maybe I could have done it better, or nobody's perfect.
yeah, and I think from the institutional lens, giving opportunities for students of color to build power outside of the traditional structures. I know as a student, one of my big frustrations was when you would complain about not having enough power or voice in a situation, people would point you in the direction of student government or other structures that are very traditionally white and exclusive. So I think institutions need to be more direct about giving funding and support to students of color, marginalized students, people that don't traditionally have that power in the room, without dictating what they do with that support. As it was mentioned, don't keep yourself in a silo. Don't shy away from going to different organizations. I'm always been a big advocate for building community within, from Latino Student Union to African Student Union to Black Student Union, across the diaspora, have those uncomfortable conversations, approach projects together that you haven't worked on before. It always helps to be in community with one another.
So one of the questions that we have for you all is, what advice would you offer to individuals who may encounter obstacles based on their minority status?
I would say prepare. Something my dad always said, I'm sure many of us in this room have heard a lot, is you have to work twice as hard to get half the credit. Similarly, you have to prepare twice as much to sometimes get half the credibility that other folks have in the room. You can be confident in what you're doing and confident in your abilities, but when you're approached with that kind of situation, sometimes it does flee you here and there. And so being prepared as possible always helps. It's not always about how people are perceiving you, it's sometimes about how you feel, whether it's dressing nice and making yourself feel good, getting a haircut. Like, those are things I do, because everything that I can do to feel the most prepared and feel confident, it's something you have to make that happen. Whatever field you're in, making sure that you are working hard to feel confident in your abilities, and be able to walk in that room and demand the respect you deserve.
I 100% echo. I feel like you just read my mind. I like being the most prepared person in the room. Not only do you feel confident, you earn respect that way. That self-care coupled with the preparation that you put into your skill, your craft, there's nothing else you can do. And you can walk away knowing I've done everything that I could. You can walk away proud of what you've done that day.
You know, when you walk in, you have to be impeccable. I still do that, okay? But just over preparing all day long.
When you think about what you can control your internal feelings. So if you're showing up authentically, you're trying to be yourself. For example, I was a resident advisor. I didn't show up as the RA Tasia, I showed up as Tasia the RA. And that really allowed me to be able to connect with my residents, because I wasn't trying to fit a mold of what people thought a resident advisor should look like or should act like. I just tried to be myself. I would say be authentic, because when you go home and you go to know if you really showed up as your true self. Like she said, you can go home, you can relax, take your bath, take your shower, and be like, we're gonna try again another time.
You wanna be as prepared as you can be, but there are gonna be scenarios that you weren't prepared for, and you have to deal with. And it ended up, because I was frustrated, I ended up going to a VP and saying, why am I not getting this? Somebody had said, while I was a lead, that I had not helped them answer a question. And that had gotten circulated around, to the people who were involved in my panel. Just something somebody said in an offhand conversation. And so sometimes you can be prepared, but you're gonna face obstacles, and so sometimes you just have to, if you want it bad enough, sometimes you're gonna have to go over and above.
And so this one, although it's specifically for David, I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts as well, but can anyone answer how your versatile educational background allowed you to adapt to different roles in the industry, and then how you used your own identity also to your benefit in your respective industries?
Yeah, so similarly to my business background, my educational background is a little bit non-traditional. So I had my major as an individualized major. I called it political organization. Hadn't existed prior to me creating it. I'm a big proponent of getting a liberal arts education. I think that when we talk about things coming up that you can't prepare for, I think a liberal arts education where it's multidisciplinary, you have a well-rounded approach to solving problems. When anyone that asked what my major was, I was having to over-explain myself. I was having to figure out how to frame this non-traditional concept into a way that people can understand it and digest it while still maintaining my credibility. When people hear political organization, and especially here in Kentucky, that's not really a career that people go down. Now in places like New York or DC, people are familiar with political consulting and organization, but here in Kentucky, it's not. I have my own business. I've been working contracts for the last 3 or 4 years, and it consistently changes, similarly to my educational background.
Well, thank you all, and I just want to say thank you to our brilliant and wonderful panelists for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here and just being honest and open with all of us. You all serve as role models for students coming after you in all of these fields, and I hope you all enjoyed this panel as much as we did, so can we just give them a round of applause?